What happens when you weren't truly loved as a child? What happens when you weren't truly loved as a child? Not just fed, clothed, and kept alive, but loved. Held with the kind of presence that tells you matter. You are safe. You are enough exactly as you are. For many of us, that kind of love never came. Or if it did, it came in fragments, conditional, distracted, inconsistent, or tangled up with fear. And yet, we rarely admit this to ourselves. Why? Because to do so would be to confront a terrifying possibility that the foundation of our identity, the very way we see ourselves in the world, was shaped not by love, but by its absence. The human psyche is built for attachment. From the moment we're born, we look into our caregiver's eyes, searching for reflection. We need someone to mirror our emotions, regulate our nervous system, and provide a sense of safety in a world that feels chaotic and overwhelming. But when that doesn't happen, when love is not present in a reliable, attuned, and unconditional way, we don't just grow up lonely, we grow up distorted. We adapt, we contort. We build entire personalities around the absence of love, just to survive. And those adaptations become the masks we wear into adulthood. This is where the real damage begins, not from the neglect itself, but from how we internalize it. A child doesn't say, "My parent is incapable of loving me." A child says, "There must be something wrong with me." That belief, "I am unlovable," seeps silently into the unconscious and becomes the hidden operating system of our lives. It shapes how we relate, how we choose partners, how we handle success, how we sabotage ourselves, how we respond to rejection. It becomes the ghost in the room, haunting every relationship we try to build. Have you ever wondered why you're drawn to people who don't really see you? Why you keep chasing unavailable love or pushing away the people who offer it? Why you feel anxious when someone gets too close or numb when they don't? These aren't random behaviors. They're echoes of an ancient wound. Your inner child is still trying to resolve a problem it never got to finish. It still believes deep down that if it can just earn love through achievement, perfection, caretaking, or even suffering, then maybe it will finally be okay. But it never is, because no amount of adult love can fill a childhood void unless it's met with awareness. And this is the exact point where philosophy becomes not just relevant but necessary. Because philosophy doesn't just ask what happened, it asks why it matters. It asks, what does it mean to be loved? What is the self when the self was never seen? And here's where the existentialists, the depth psychologists, and even mystics converge. They all agree that to be unloved in childhood is to be cast adrift in a world without a mirror. You lose your place in the world, and so you begin to perform. Life becomes a stage, and you become the actor, playing roles just to be tolerated.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But here's the sickness of it all. When you weren't truly loved as a child, you often don't even know what real love feels like. So when it finally arrives, you might reject it. It feels unfamiliar, unsafe, maybe even boring. Because love, real love, isn't dramatic. It doesn't spike your nervous system. It doesn't demand you prove your worth. It just says, "I see you and I'm here." And if you never got that as a child, it can feel almost unbearable as an adult. Imagine that. Imagine carrying around a thirst so deep that when someone finally offers you water, you turn away because your body has forgotten how to drink. So what's the solution? How do we begin to heal something that happened so early, so silently, that it became part of our very being? First, we have to stop lying to ourselves. We have to stop pretending it didn't matter, that we turned out fine, that they did their best. Maybe they did, but that doesn't mean you got what you needed. And until you let yourself feel that grief, the grief of what never was, you will continue to chase love in all the wrong places, trying to fill a void that only truth can touch. This is not about blaming your parents. This is about reclaiming your story. Because if you don't, your story will keep repeating itself in your relationships, your career, your mental health, and your sense of self-worth. You'll keep trying to fix the past through the present, and that never works. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this is the unconscious we're talking about. The unloved child inside you, still waiting for someone to come. But here's the twist: the person they're waiting for is you. No one else can go back and love that child. No one else can rewrite the script. It has to be you now, in the present moment, choosing to see what was never seen, choosing to feel what was never safe to feel, choosing to become the loving witness that child never had. And yes, it will hurt. It will feel like dying. But in a way, it is. It's the death of the false self, the self you created to survive. And in its place, something real can finally begin to live. So I'll ask you something, and I want you to sit with it, not just now, but tonight, tomorrow, and every time you feel that ache rise in your chest. What would it mean to finally love the parts of yourself that no one ever did? The mirror was broken. How your childhood scripts still control your adult life. There's this quiet, almost invisible tragedy that unfolds in the lives of those who weren't truly loved as children. It isn't always loud or dramatic. In fact, that's what makes it so dangerous. It hides in plain sight. It's the friend who never lets anyone get too close. The overachiever who feels empty after every win. The partner who clings too tightly or withdraws without warning. It's the adult who can't stop wondering, why do I always feel like something's missing? And the answer, the one we're often too afraid to speak, is that the mirror was broken. The reflection we needed in childhood, the one that tells us who we are and that we matter, wasn't there. So we grew up without a clear picture of ourselves. And in that emptiness, we wrote scripts that still shape our lives today. What happens when a child doesn't see themselves reflected in the eyes of love? They begin to improvise. They construct identities based on what gets them attention, approval, or safety. If crying gets scolded, you stop crying. If anger gets punished, you bury it. If quietness gets praised, you become invisible. You learn to read the room instead of your heart. You become whoever they need you to be. But here's the problem. Those adaptations work in childhood, but they become prisons in adulthood. Because now, you don't know who you are without the mask. You don't know how to love without performing. You don't know how to receive without earning. And worst of all, you don't trust love when it does come, because it doesn't fit the script you were handed. These scripts are not written in words. They're written in reactions, in patterns, in the way you flinch when someone raises their voice, in the way you feel responsible for everyone's emotions, in the way you shut down when someone gets too close. They live in your nervous system, in your breath, in your silence. And unless we bring them to light, they quietly run our lives. You may think you're choosing your partner, your job, your friends, but often it's the child choosing. The one who still believes love must be earned. That pain is normal. That emotional neglect is just how life works. Let's pause and ask something uncomfortable. What if your idea of normal is actually just familiar pain? What if the love you chase is really just the emotional temperature of your childhood, repeating itself? We tend to recreate what we didn't resolve. We date people who mirror our wounds. We sabotage our happiness because joy feels unsafe. We mistrust peace because chaos is what we know. And all the while, we keep thinking there's something wrong with us when really it's the script that's broken, not the soul. But here's where things get interesting. Because once you start to see the pattern, once you recognize that the mirror was broken and you've been living in its distorted reflection, you gain something priceless: choice. You can begin to rewrite the script. And that doesn't mean just thinking positively or saying affirmations in the mirror. It means going back and asking, what did I learn about love before I even had words? What did I come to believe about my worth, my needs, my emotions? When did I decide it was safer to be silent than honest? These aren't easy questions. They stir up grief, rage, confusion, but they also crack open the door to freedom. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once said, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." That's exactly what healing is. It's looking backward not to dwell, but to understand. To trace the roots of your suffering so you can stop watering the same weeds. And yes, it's painful. But what's more painful is living a life that was scripted for a child's survival not an adult's flourishing. So what do we do with this knowledge? We begin slowly, gently, by noticing. When you react strongly to something, pause. Ask, whose voice is this? Is this really me? Or is this the child who was never seen? When you feel the urge to please, to withdraw, to explode, pause. That space, that moment of reflection, is the beginning of freedom. Because every time you choose differently, you weaken the old script. And every time you affirm your right to feel, to speak, to exist as you are, you begin to rebuild the mirror not as it once was, but as it was always meant to be. So I'll ask you this, and I hope you answer not with your mind, but with your life. What unconscious script are you still performing, and who would you become if you stopped acting and started living as your true self? Reclaiming the unseen self, why self-love isn't a cliche. It's a revolution. We live in a world that sells self-love like a product packaged in pastel colors, stamped with motivational quotes, and offered as a quick fix for deep suffering. But if you weren't truly loved as a child, you know instinctively that self-love isn't something you can buy, post, or fake your way into. It's not a bubble bath or a break from work. It's not a hashtag. It's a war. A quiet, unglamorous, moment-to-moment revolution against every message you were given that told you, you don't matter, you're too much, you're not enough. And this revolution begins when you realize that the self you're trying to love was never truly seen in the first place. What does it mean to reclaim the unseen self? It means that buried beneath the roles you play, the masks you wear, and the pain you carry, there is a version of you that has been exiled. Not because you're weak, but because you were wise. As a child, you hid the parts of yourself that were too painful to express. The anger, the longing, the sensitivity, the joy that felt unsafe. You split off from your wholeness to survive. And in doing so, you created a false self, a version that was more acceptable, more adaptable, more lovable to the people around you. But not to you. Never to you. Because deep down, you knew it wasn't the real you, and so self-love, real self-love, begins not with affirmation but with excavation. You have to dig. You have to go back to the moment you decided it was better to disappear than to be rejected. The moment you stopped crying because no one came. The moment you laughed at your own pain because it made everyone else more comfortable. The moment you became the caretaker, the achiever, the fixer, not out of love but out of fear. And then you have to do something radical. You have to go to that younger version of yourself and say, I see you now. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm here. And I'm not leaving. This is not easy work. It's sacred work. And it's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering someone ancient you before the world got its hands on you. Before the scripts, before the shame. Before you internalize the belief that your worth was conditional. Because here's the truth that no one tells you. You don't have to earn self-love. You just have to stop running from yourself long enough to feel it. You have to sit in the quiet and endure the initial discomfort of being with the parts you were told to abandon. And yes, it will feel unbearable at first. Because when you start to love yourself in ways you never experienced, your nervous system will panic. It will say, this isn't safe. This isn't familiar. This can't be real. That's the old wiring. That's the echo of a childhood where love was inconsistent, manipulative, or entirely absent. But if you stay with yourself without judgment, without distraction, something begins to shift. The body remembers, the soul stirs. The unseen self steps forward and says, you remembered me. And that moment, though invisible to the world, is revolutionary. Because if you can love the parts of yourself that were never loved, you begin to dismantle every lie you were taught. You stop chasing validation. You stop performing. You stop begging others to reflect a worth that has always lived inside you. And something wild happens. You become free. Not just free from others, but free with yourself. Free to feel, to fail, to rest, to speak, to exist without apology. That is what self-love really is. Not a feeling, but a foundation. So let's ask the real question, the one that splits the surface of the life you've been living. What parts of yourself have you neglected? Because no one else ever nurtured them? What would happen if you chose to love them anyway? Becoming the parent you never had. How reparenting yourself heals the past and rewrites the future. There comes a point in the healing journey where you realize no one is coming to save you, not in the way you once hoped. Not your parents, not your partner, not your therapist, not the future version of yourself who finally has it all together. And this isn't a tragic realization, it's a sacred one. Because when you stop waiting, something incredible happens. You show up for yourself. You become the parent you never had. And in doing so, you don't just heal the past, you reclaim your future. When you weren't truly loved as a child, your nervous system was wired for survival, not safety. You didn't learn to soothe yourself, you learned to suppress yourself. You didn't learn to trust your feelings, you learned to question them. You didn't learn that boundaries protect love, you learned that boundaries threaten it. So now, as an adult, you may find yourself overwhelmed by the simplest things. Setting limits, saying no, asking for help, resting. And it's not because you're weak. It's because no one ever taught you how to live in a body that feels safe. No one ever modeled what it means to care for yourself without shame or fear. That's what reparenting is. It's not about pretending your childhood didn't hurt. It's about acknowledging that it did and choosing to give yourself now what you were denied then. It means becoming the voice you needed, the one that says, I hear you. I'm proud of you. It's okay to feel this. You don't have to be perfect. You are safe now. And the more consistently you show up for yourself in small, loving ways, the more your inner world begins to shift. The child within you, so used to being ignored, criticized, or abandoned, starts to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone is listening now, and that someone is you. This isn't just emotional fluff, it's neuroscience. Every time you pause and choose a new response, one rooted in compassion, not punishment, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're building new neural pathways that say, I am worthy of care. You're calming your nervous system. You're teaching your body that love doesn't have to be earned through stress and self-sacrifice. And over time, these acts of inner parenting become your new normal. Not because you forget the past, but because you finally stop letting the past dictate your present. But make no mistake, this is hard work. It's not a straight line. Some days, reparenting looks like journaling for an hour. Other days, it looks like remembering to drink water. Some days, it's deep inner dialogue. Other days, it's just whispering to yourself. You're doing your best, and that's enough. There's no formula. But there is a truth that guides it all. You are the one you've been waiting for. And here's the most beautiful part. When you begin to reparent yourself, you don't just heal your own life, you change the lives of everyone around you. You break cycles. You stop passing on the pain. You show others what it looks like to love without fear, without control, without conditions. You become the kind of presence you never received. And in doing so, you become the ancestor your future self and your future family will thank. So I'll leave you with this one final question, not to answer today or perfectly, but to hold close in your heart as you move forward. If you were the parent of your inner child, the one who still lives in your fears, your habits, your hopes, how would you begin to love them, care for them, protect them, and guide them starting now? Because maybe healing isn't about fixing yourself. Maybe it's about finally giving yourself the love you always deserved and choosing day by day to never abandon yourself again.